So you want to ditch your Dutch oven and learn how to open bake your sourdough loaves. I'm going to tell you exactly how I open bake my sourdough loaves, and I open bake all of my loaves. So currently I am using a double oven and it is electric. Now if you have a gas oven, it is going to be a little bit different, and I am not very versed in gas ovens and how to open bake. So I would just take this advice with a grain of salt. But if you do have an electric oven, you can absolutely do this. So I am a cottage baker. I'm making roughly around 400-ish loaves a month, and I use the open bake method and I love it. So right now what I'm doing is I am just turning out all of my original loaves. I'm turning them out and I'm going to be doing all of the decorative scoring on these loaves. Now I used to do my expansion score before I loaded them in, but I kind of like the way that the crust is if I don't do my expansion score right away and I wait 5 minutes. So I really like that, and that's a technique that I'm currently using, but I do flip-flop. So don't take that, like, just take everything I'm saying and kind of utilize what you want to utilize and then leave what you don't. Now I'm gonna load these loaves into the oven one at a time. You can absolutely load them in all together, but I kind of like to stagger them. If you'll notice, I do the 2 back loaves and then I do the front loaf. Now my top oven does heat differently than my bottom oven. So my top oven I always set to 465 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you'll notice, I have a little loaf pan on the bottom shelf of my oven. That loaf pan is filled with lava rocks. So my oven has been preheating with those lava rocks in that loaf pan, and they're nice and hot right now. So I'm sticking all of my loaves in there without any expansion score, and I am going to let them cook at this temperature for about 5 minutes. Now once that 5 minutes is up, I'm gonna go in with my linen gloves so that I don't burn myself, and I'm going to make my expansion score on all of my loaves. Once this expansion score is done, I'm going to pull out that little loaf pan of lava rocks and I'm going to pour over top of it just room temperature water. It doesn't have to be boiling because the lava rocks are already super hot. So I pour my room temperature water right over top of those rocks, and then I stick the rocks right back into the oven. And then I use this mister sprayer that I got from Home Depot that I only use for my loaves, and I go ahead and spray the entire oven. I spray all of the loaves, I spray everything. You probably noticed that I didn't flour much on top of my loaves because when you open bake, there's a lot of steam and there's a lot of moisture. So like, I could put a bunch of flour on my loaves and then score them. By the time they're done baking, you can barely see any of it. And I just noticed that it kind of just makes a mess. So now I just lightly flour them, and I really like the way that they look. So this is me just scoring the bottom loaves and then kind of adjusting them as well. Now my bottom oven does get a little hotter, so I know to adjust the temperature down to like 460, 455. I kind of just keep an eye on the loaves, but this is how you can tell like each oven is a little different because it's going to be cooking your loaves differently. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spray those, and once everything is nice and sprayed and the steam is put in, I'm going to let I'm gonna let them cook with steam for about 20 minutes. Now, these are original loaves. They do not have a high sugar content, so that's why I'm doing 20 minutes. If they did have a high sugar content, I would up that steam time from 20 to like 25, 30 minutes, usually 25. Now, after the 20 minutes is done, I take the steam out. I remove the loaves from each other because they do like to kind of bump into each other and kiss. I like to spin them so that they brown really evenly, and then I go ahead and do the same thing for the bottom. Remove the steam. Without the steam, I'm gonna go ahead and cook them for an additional 5 minutes. No, 10 minutes. I'm lying. I'm gonna go ahead and cook them for an additional 10 minutes. So we have 5 minutes plus the 10 minutes without steam. So that's about 15 minutes without steam, 20 minutes with steam. overall cook time is 35 minutes, and that normally cooks all of my loaves exactly the same. So now if you're doing like a high sugar content loaf, you're going to want to up the steam time. So you'll do steam for 25 minutes, no steam for 10 minutes. Then I took a little break, dropped the kids off, came back just in time, and I pulled my loaves out. So if you can see, the bottom loaves always brown a lot quicker than the top ones. So my top ones are still loaded in, and I will remove them as soon as they are done. But this is exactly how I open bake. It's not too scary, but it does take a little bit of trial and error just to get it set up for your house and your oven. I also didn't mention that I bought my lava rocks at Home Depot. So I bought them in a big bag. I went ahead and like boiled them out, cleaned them, strained them, and then I just used them right in those pans. And that's it. If you have any questions about open baking or anything that I didn't cover in this video, please feel free to leave a comment.